My name's Rebecca and welcome to my music studio. I'm so glad that you're here. In my studio and on my channel, we talk a lot about making music every single time you sit down at the piano, whether you know how to read music or not. And a lot of these techniques I had to teach myself, even though I had had piano lessons for years and studied it in college. And so I decided this would be a great opportunity to teach you about these techniques as well. If you're still learning to read music, make sure that you do that because it's really worth it to be able to read music as well if you have music in front of you. However, sometimes, especially as a beginner, you don't want to just read one little line of music. You want to sit down and use music as a therapy tool, which is something that I love to do. When I've had a really hard day and I just want to relax, to sit down at the piano and just play is an amazing gift. And I'm here to give that gift to you if it's something that you have never done before or experienced before. So, a lot of times with the improvisations on my channel, I like to make it really easy but theory based, where I'm teaching you exactly why we do things, not just showing you what your hands are doing, but why and step by step how to do that. But sometimes some of the improvisations can feel a little bit complicated if you're just starting out, especially for your right hand. So today we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into full melodies with your right hand, and we're going to do it with a really cool technique using the pentatonic scale. I'll show you exactly what that is and how it's going to help your playing and give you more confidence because there's a little bit less to remember in your right hand if you're only using the pentatonic scale. So make sure that you play along with me, take notes, and let me know if this is your first time ever hearing of the pentatonic scale, or if the right hand is something that you struggle with as well. So come over to the piano and I'll show you exactly what this is and how it translates to all the different keys on the piano. Even though I'm new to YouTube, I have been overwhelmed by the amount of support that I've gotten from people on this channel. So thank you so much for supporting me. If you would like to support me in a free way, super easy, just make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new material, and you can comment and share. All those things help me out. And also, I have a link to buy me a coffee. Thank you so much to those of you who have done that. It just means the world to me that you would buy a coffee for me and help me through the day. So the link's in the description box. So we're going to start this easy improvisation in the key of C major. And we're going to start here because it's one of the easiest keys to play in because we only have to worry about white notes. But I'm actually going to give you two other keys today that you can practice in so you can get out of C major and not just always stay in the same place. However, this is a great place to start. So with the key of C major, we are playing between C and C and only white notes. So I always like to begin with a scale because it teaches our hands which notes to play and which notes not to play. And even though we're only playing white notes right now, it is still a good practice to always start with a scale. So let's play the C major scale. It doesn't matter what finger or what fingering you use. You don't have to do the proper scale fingering if you don't know it or don't feel like doing it. So let's play the C scale. Now, before I do the right hand pentatonic scale, which is what we're going to be studying today, we're going to do the chords in our left hand. We're going to stick with triad chords, which is just stacked chords in our left hand, before I show you some different techniques in the left hand as well. So if we take a C in our left hand and we build a chord on top of it, it becomes the C triad or the number one chord. So let's count up three notes. 1, 2, 3. That leads us to E. So we have C and E. And then from C, we count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's a G. So our first, this is called the tonic chord if it's the number one chord, in stacked position is C, E, G. Then we're going to go to the 6 chord. The 6 chord is when we start at C and count up 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we build a stacked chord on top of the A, it's A, C, E, and that's an A minor chord. So instead of doing this where we pop up to the A minor, let's play this C major, and then we're just going to go down to this A and play this A minor chord. Then we're going to go to a 4 chord in the key of C. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is an F major chord, F-A-C. And so the cool thing is that we get to just keep moving down. So we have our C major, A minor, and then we're going to go to our F major, which is F-A-C, right below it. And we have one more chord before we're back to our C, and that's our 5 chords. So from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, build a chord. It is G, B, D, and that is a G major chord. So the way that it looks with everything else, everything stays right within the same area. We have a 1 chord to our 6 chord, 4 chord, up 1 to our 5 chord, and then we're going to end with our 1 chord. The cool thing about chord progressions also is they're looping. So once you come back to the 1 chord, you can just go directly again into the 6 chord, into the 4 chord, 5 chord. You can do that as many times as you want to for as long as you want to play. I love the loop aspect. The only thing is you need to make sure that you begin on a C major chord and you end on a C major chord, and then it will sound like you have completed the loop for however many times you decided to play it. We can always do stacked chords if you want to, or you can do one of my favorite techniques, which is to do a representative chord. So instead of doing the C, E, G, we're going to instead play a C octave, which is C and C, and then we're going to put the 5th down, which is the G, in the middle. So the full chord would be C, E, G with a C on top, but doing a 4-note chord as a beginner is really hard. So we take that 3rd out, and it still sounds just as great. So let's work through this chord progression with our representative chords, just playing them all together like this. So we have our C chord to A minor with E in the middle, to F major with C in the middle, to G major with D in the middle, and then back to C. So your first choice in your left hand is to play a stack. The second choice is to do the octave with the 5th in the middle. And the third choice that I'm going to give you today is to arpeggiate either one of those. So this is, I guess, the 3rd and 4th choice. So you could take your first stacked chord and you can play the notes individually like this, or whatever order you want. That is called arpeggiation, and you can arpeggiate any of the stacked chords like that. Or you can do the second option of the octave with the 5th in the middle, and you can arpeggiate that as well, which is what I tend to do most. Or again, any order that you want, where you can play 2 notes together, or you can start with the middle note, whatever you want to do. Nothing's wrong. It'll be great. So those are really your first 4 choices that you get to do for your left hand. It's finally time to talk about a pentatonic scale. And this is where the magic really happens. What we're doing is we're going to be playing, instead of the 8 notes that we did in our beginning, where we have a choice of any of those 8 notes when we're playing, we're going to cut out 2 of those notes, and we're only going to be playing 5 notes out of the 8. Now, that doesn't seem like a big deal that you're just dropping 3 notes, but it really does make a difference, because these 5 notes, it doesn't matter in what order you play them, or if you play 2 together or 3 together, they will always sound good, and that's what I love. You really can't mess it up if you have these 5 notes. And the 5 notes are the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this is outside of a 5-finger range, but only by 1. So you can play them all in order, and I'm going to use my pedal so that you can hear this. You can play all these notes in order, up and down, and it'll sound great, first of all. That kind of reminds me of a mandolin. And I really like that sound together. So that's up and down. Now this time I'm going to play them in any order and always end on the 1. Hear that? So that's a different sound, but it's still the same notes. Or you can take the same notes and you can play several notes together. And any notes that you choose to play together at one time, whether you play 2 or 3 notes together, it's going to sound great. Something like this. So your 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 are your notes that you get to choose from. That means that you don't just have to stay here either. You can also play them up an octave. So really you're playing C, D, E, G, and A. So I could come up to this C and that would still be included. So you could do something like this. So you have really with 2 octaves is what we're going for this improvisation. So that's it. That's the only thing that you need to know for the pentatonic scale for the right hand. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to start playing with 2 hands at the same time, but we're going to do it in an easy way first before we get just a little bit more complicated. It might seem intimidating to play with 2 hands at once, but I want you to stick with me and give it a try if you never have, because it's really empowering to be able to do that if you've never played with 2 hands before. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our representative chord. Actually, no, let's do the stacked chord in the left hand first. So we're going to do 1 beat with our stack and then 3 beats of any of those 5 notes. So it'll sound something like this. So it'll be 1 beat, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then we're going to move to our next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we're going to go all the way through it, doing it that way. Let's give this a try. And then end on 1. So make sure that you understand the movement of your left hand especially, and you really have a good handle on those 5 notes before you move on to your next step. So our next step is going to be playing all of these things at the same time. And let's right now stick with just 1 note at a time before you move on to doing several notes and then moving outside of the octave. So this time I'm going to do the representative chords in my left hand and I will arpeggiate them some. So to make it a little bit easier to hear, I'm going to move up an octave for both of my hands. So I will do left hand here, this is middle C, and I'll do right hand above the octave here. Okay, let's give this a try. And then end on 1. Once you feel fairly comfortable with that, it is now time to expand. And now you can go from 1 octave to the other, playing several notes at a time if you would like to. And then you can also arpeggiate in your left hand, whatever you'd like to do. This is the part about improvisation that I think is so magical, that every time you sit down to play, it's going to be a different song. Unless you remember it and write it down or record it or something. You get to play something different every time, but it's still going to sound good if you think about the principles that we're doing here. You can make different choices too. If you're like, I really don't feel like doing this octave, you can go ahead and do the stacks, or you can do an octave first and then maybe for your second chord you feel like doing stacks. Whatever you want to do, it's your choice. So let's give this a try where we're trying a few different notes in our right hand, but we're sticking with the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Okay, so let's give this a try. So now you feel comfortable in C major, and it is time to move to a couple of different keys. So I have kind of picked in random, but I wanted to stick with the flats today. So just as a reminder of what a flat is, it just means one note to the left of whatever note that I'm going to tell you. And that could be a black or white key. In today's example, they are going to be black notes. So the first note that we're going to make flatted is this B. So instead of playing a B, we're going to play a B flat, and the next note to the left is this note. So this will be our note we play instead of a B. So our key is the key of F major. So instead of before we were playing from C to C, all white notes, this time we're going to play from F to F, and instead of the B, we're going to play the B flat. So let's start with the scale as always. B flat, and then come back down, B flat. So that's it. That is the F major scale. This is one stop. If you look at the Circle of Fifths freebie that I have given you to download in the description box, you will see that if you go one click over from the C at the top, you get to F, and that shows that one flat there, and that is a B flat. So that's the key that we're going to play in. So for our left hand, let's quickly go over the chord progression in our left hand. Since we know our numbers, the Roman numerals, that will tell us exactly what chords that we're going to play. So the first chord is FAC, that's number 1. If we go to a 6 chord, that's a D. So we'll go to this one. That's our D minor. Then we go to our 4 chord. And this one is a B flat major. So this is B flat, D, and F. And then we just have one more, which is our 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a C major, C, E, G. So there it is. F major, D minor, B flat major, C major, and then you close up the loop and we're back to our F. Okay, so that's our left hand. And then again, we can do the same thing where we do our representative chords. And then in our right hand, let's look at what our pentatonic scale in the right hand is. So remember, it's 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. So in your right hand, we don't even have to worry about the B flat because we're not going to play it at all. So the only B flat that we're playing in the left hand is when we get down to that 4 chord. So same deal, you start the same way where you do 1 beat and then 3 beats here. All the way through. Then you're going to do the next step, which is putting it all together. So let's do this chord progression now in the key of F major with our pentatonic scale. Loop that as many times as you want to, and I really do encourage you to play in the key of F major to get yourself out of C major so that you can try something different and you have a whole another key to experiment with and to play these different chord progressions with. I promised you one more key, and that's because I want you to have experience with different keys. So we're going to just stay with flats today for no other reason than I feel like it. So we're going to go a couple more clicks down on our circle of fifths till we get to A flat major. So if we remember our flats, instead of an A, we're going to play an A flat. And that's where our scale is, and you'll see in the circle of fifths that it has 4 flats in it. The 4 flats are B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. So it's these 4. This might take a little bit of practice if you're not used to playing with 4 flats, but I think practice is good. So this time, instead of playing the B, E, A, and D, those are the ones that we're skipping, we are playing these 4 instead. So let's play the A flat major scale from A flat to A flat, remembering the notes that we are skipping, just to get our hands and our ears used to this new key. So we'll start on A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, and then we go back down. If you have to do that a few times, then do it a few times. That is totally fine. Let's go through the stacked chords in the key of A flat, because these are going to feel a little bit different because we have our hands higher so that we can reach these flat notes. So our first chord is our A flat, C, E flat. That's our one chord. Then we're going to our sixth chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is an F. We'll build it down here. F, A flat, C. Then we go to our 4 chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a D flat. So that is D flat, F, A flat. And then we go to our 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E flat, G, B flat. And then we're back to our A flat. So let's do that one more time together. A flat, F minor, D flat, E flat, and then back to A flat to close up the loop. And again, you can do the representative chords in the left as well. So now let's look at the pentatonic scale in the key of A flat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 again. 1, A flat, 2, B flat, 3 is C, skip 4, and then we have E flat, and then F. All right. Just do that a few times to feel that in your hand. And now go through the pattern again, where you are doing 1 beat in your left hand, 3 beats over here. And now it's time to try a little improvisation with this chord progression and the key of A flat pentatonic scale. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the pentatonic scale. Maybe that's something that you've never tried before, but even just reducing the amount of notes that you need to play in your right hand, but it still sounds beautiful, it just takes down the overwhelm just a little bit. So I hope that you're able to experiment with that pentatonic scale in all of the different keys. Make sure to grab in the description box below the freebie that I have for you, which is the Circle of Fifths tool. It'll help you learn all about all of the different keys and how to play in different keys than just C major. Let me know in the comments below how it's going, how I can help, or if you would love to see me expand on any other of the techniques that I've talked about here. And until then, I will see you in the next video.